Hey, so it is freaking cold, so I'm going to talk about my favorite cold books. Just to let you know up front, if this is something you care about, there's no consistent internal logic behind these choices. It's just what I feel in my heart. Except I am going to start with like the most obviously connected to cold winter theme and moving to like the less obvious or maybe more abstract. I don't know why, I just feel like that. So first one is a really obvious choice, The Bear and the Nightingale, Catherine Arden. It's the first book of a trilogy that's called the Winter Night Trilogy, and it seems to be winter a lot in all three of these books. And also there's a character who is literally the embodiment of winter, because it's a Russian fairy tale and you can do something like that in a fantasy book. So these are very, very wintry. I feel like any time of year that you would read it, you would just feel like curling up in front of a fire and like watching snow fall out your window. Yeah. Next, also very obvious, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This one, I mean, this cover is not my favorite, but it does embody that winter aesthetic very well. Except that by the end of the book, it's not winter anymore. So I don't know how well that fits. I don't know. We're just rolling with things here. I'm just kind of picking random books. Okay, so this one might not be as obvious a choice, but it's sort of, you can sort of see it, I guess. Coronation Everest by Jan Morris. This is an account of the first European summit of Mount Everest in 1958 or 58 or sometime in the 1953. Just kidding, because it was the same time as the coronation of Elizabeth II. And I guess the wintry or the cold part comes in because like there's snow on the mountain, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. You should have figured out by now that none of these really make any sense. I'm just picking things at random. Oh, I forgot about this because it's on my Kindle and I don't have the physical book. But Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik is also very wintry. There's like something stuck to my Kindle screen. I don't know what it is. I'll just, pardon me a second while I clean this off. Okay, so yeah, so Spinning Silver, I feel like it's been a while since I read it, but I feel like a big chunk of it takes place during the winter or in like a wintry magical land or something, but I really liked it. And then now we're gonna move on to the a lot less obvious choices for cold books. So these are books in which it is not cold, but you might think of cold. I don't know, we'll see. So this is America Pacifica by Anna North, and I know this can't possibly be true, but I feel like no one else in the world has even heard of this book except for me. So, I mean, I'm sure there has to be other people out there who have read this, but I haven't seen anyone else talk about it. But this is a far future dystopian novel in which there is basically like another ice age on Earth. And so the only habitable areas of the planet are around the equator. And so everyone who can possibly make it there has settled on this tiny island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean called America Pacifica. And it's like extremely overcrowded. Every like square inch of the island is covered with buildings and people and all the stuff that people need to live. And so the main character, her mother is killed, and she sets off on this mission to find who killed her mother, and she gradually starts to unravel the secrets behind this community, and eventually she ends up having to leave, but we don't get to see where she goes, but we're assuming that she's going to go to like a really cold place because everywhere else on the planet is covered in ice. So I guess that kind of makes sense for like the cold theme that I'm going with. I don't know. All right, the last one, this is another book everybody probably already knows about, City of Brass. This takes place in the middle of a desert, and it's hot the whole time. So this is like, if it's super like cold and miserable in the winter where you are, then you could read this and it would like make you think of the desert and like a warm place. But it's also just like a really good book. And I have the second book. I got this for Christmas, but I haven't read it yet because book 3 isn't out yet, and I know as soon as I finish this, I'm gonna want to read book 3, so I'm kind of just waiting. But yeah, I feel like this isn't a very good endorsement of the book, but it's really good, and you should read it. Okay. All right, well, that's it. I'm gonna warm my hands by the stove now because my apartment is freezing. So stay warm and see you later.